Now, I saw you guys in 2023 opening for the Mark of Cain in Brisbane
Mm, mhm.
and was absolutely blown away. Just remind me, sorry, where do you fit into the band? Are you bass, drums?
I,
What?
I'm I play guitar.
You're a guitar.
Um,
Yep, yep.
yeah, I do
Um,
guitar. Matt, I think Matt's joining us in a couple of minutes.
oh, groovy. Okay, cool. Yeah, man. Remember, I can remember a I believe it was a bass player wearing some sort of football jersey, and your singer doing like literally as you guys started, and I'm like, what the hell are these guys going to sound like? Because I deliberately hadn't checked you out,
Okay,
and
right.
all I can remember is your singer just like coming out and just doing this mad kind of kung fu pose, like he's
Yeah,
about to pounce on us, and then yeah, this massive stoner rock sound, which I was not expecting. Yeah,
yeah.
so
It was a really great tour. That I loved that. And the Marty Kane guys were so lovely as well. Really, really nice people.
they're the best,
Yeah,
and it's
they're great.
it's interesting how their sound, because I bring them up a lot when I talk about the concept of heaviness. Um, and I'm sure you as someone who plays that kind of old school stoner rock thing, is that if you look at a band like the Mark of Cain, and a track like First Time, you know, they're not a metal band in the slightest. But my
Mm.
God, that the opening 40 seconds of that track could crush most black metal bands into dust. Like, how do you feel about the
Mm.
definition of heaviness? What is heavy to you?
Um, I think. Oh, that's a good question. One that I don't. It's. I think it's.
Ah, I'm on.
It has.
I
It
remember
has.
that moustache. You're the singer. I remember seeing you in 2023.
um,
Go ahead, mate.
I think it is very little to do with a guitar tone or necessarily the volume. I think it is. It's an energy and I think it's as much of an emotion as getting across sadness or joy or what have you in a song. I think getting across a sense of heaviness is kind of a similar avenue you go down.
Hmm.
Ensure that the volume, the saturation of the fuzz or what have you has a it's an easy route to that. But I think it's more than just which I kind of think the whole, like, we get called metal a lot, and I'm not convinced. But then it's up to the listeners to decide. 'Cause it doesn't matter at all, and and to some people we're not heavy at all. To some people we're the heaviest thing they've ever heard.
Hmm.
And
Sorry, Matt, we're talking about the concept of heaviness because I was saying, so just to catch you up, hi, my name's Tom. I'm sick as a dog, but I love your band, which is why I'm been cycling through today to, you're the last thing I have to do before I get to rug up and get stoned. So great. Now, I was on the front barrier for you guys in Brisbane when you were opening for one of my favorite Australian bands, the Mark of Cain. And
Yeah.
I was telling Adam, I deliberately did not check you guys out because I wanted it to be a surprise. And I remember you came out and you were doing this kind of like kung fu pose. And you seemed to be waiting there for ages. And I'm like, what is these guys going to sound like? And then the hammer dropped, and I was not expecting. I don't know what I was expecting. Stoner rock, stoner
Yeah.
metal. Whoa. Who knows? But yeah, man. I absolutely love the sound. How do you think it evolved?
I mean, when we started out, we only really had quite a loose concept of what we wanted the band to be or to sound like, and I think in many ways that kind of uh worked in our favor in terms of being able to kind of craft a sound that maybe is just a little bit more unique or difficult to categorize like one way or another because we've kind of we've pillaged from a bunch of different subgenres and kind of thrown them all together. We had a few like touch points. I mean, initially we were kind of we were trying to lean into kind of a more maybe like a krautrock kind of sound. So, we were and we still are like big into bands like Can and Faust. So there was like an element of where, we wanted to like uh have a lot of repetition in there. So like our earlier stuff, like the songs, a lot of them are quite long. And what we kind of kept doing was like as we were writing songs, because really all that we had in mind initially was like we need to get a set. We didn't even think about like albums or recording or anything. We just wanted to get a set list together so we could play for long enough to justify people booking us. We got about 40 minutes worth of music together, but we were just like throwing riff after riff, like, tacking it onto the end, and we ended up with like two 20-minute long songs, which when we were playing them live, because we were so excited, we were playing them faster. And we were shaving off about 10 minutes and so we were playing for like half an hour, and some of our earlier shows, we'd like walk off stage and there'd be a promoter at the side of the stage, like, "You've got another 10 minutes." And we were like, "Oh, well, we're done." Yeah, we had like those touch points of like influences with bands, but we're also huge Sabbath fans, so we were kind of throwing some of that into the pot of like krautrock, I guess. And then over time, with each album we started to, I suppose, refine what we had there in terms of like the foundations of the band and what we were working with, and we were starting to like put together like shorter songs, which actually when we made the decision to do that was quite exciting because we were so, and previous bands we'd been in, we were all in this like headspace of like, yeah, we'll do really long, sprawling songs, which are great, and I love bands that do that. But when we made the decision to start like, okay, well, how do we condense this down into like, I don't know, even just like 6 minutes for us was a challenge. But it was a good challenge. It felt like we were pushing ourselves into doing something a little bit more challenging because I think we could have quite easily carried on doing like really long, you know, compositions, and we'd have been, enthusiastic about doing that. But I think there's value and merit in kind of pushing yourself into areas where maybe you're not quite so comfortable. And
Mhm.
trying to write a 3-minute pop song, that is our uncomfortable.
it it reminds me of that old gag, oh, I rocked up an hour late to the doom metal show. It's all right, they're still playing the first song. I rock up
Yeah,
an hour late to the grindcore set show and I've missed the first 10 bands.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um
That's it.
Now this is going to sound really random, but it's definitely the theme of in the feverish nature of this interview, I think I may have just thrown away a 20-year-long friendship because I didn't want to listen to a mate's AI-generated album.
Okay.
Um, Look, as someone who plays old school music, how do you feel if someone came up to you and said, "Hey, I've been working on this album, check it out," and you realize about 10 seconds in, oh shit, this entire thing was made with text prompts. Like, what? How do you feel about it?
I know Adam has quite strong opinions on this. So
Send it, Adam. Unleash.
I I am terrified of the
Mm,
whole thing,
mm,
and perhaps I'm a luddite, but it's. I think for me, it feels both creatively and perhaps from a societal point of view, it seems incredibly archaic and dangerous. I think the thing that really gets me at the minute is, especially with things like artwork and stuff, is essentially stealing other people's work to avoid paying people for their work, and it is, I think, at the moment, everything I've seen of it, although it's improving like exponentially, it is there's always a tell, it's always soulless, but I have no doubt that in a few years' time that it'll be indistinguishable, and I'm very scared.
Yeah, I think
I think there's always, people will always want a tactile experience. People will always want to go and see a band live. That's not going to change. I personally, I think the sort of visual art industry, for want of a better word, is the one that's going to be the most affected by it. But also, you know, Sam's a recording engineer, he owns a studio. Like, God knows, is it going to be a decade before there's AI, you know, AI studios everywhere, that they can emulate that. God knows. I've also been rewatching all the Terminator. I say all the Terminator films. I've stopped after 3 because I can't go any further. That was a struggle. But yeah, I'm terrified.
It is bizarre, isn't it, that our generation that was raised on Terminator films, Terminator 2 is quite literally my favorite film of all time, and we grew up and created AI. Like, really? Of all people. Like,
it is that generation.
We're very fascinating creatures, aren't we? Yes. Yeah. Just like we're too scared to literally hit the self-destruct button, but we'll kind of
the machines will do it for us. It's fine.
We'll dance around it until something else will, you know, we've created something, whether that's the climate or AI, that will, you know, that'll do it for us.
Look, speaking of well, I was kind of blown away when I saw the latest single from you guys, because I'm a huge rap fan, and I was very surprised to find out that Pigs has worked with Run the Jewels.
You weren't as surprised as we were, to be honest.
Who approached who? What the fuck?
Oh well, LP approached us. He didn't at all. Adam kind of, you connected the dots on that, didn't you?
Yeah, I just managed to get, you know, we had a list. We had this track, and we knew we wanted someone, you know, some bars on it from someone, and it fit perfectly. Johnny had written this track, and he didn't really, he didn't write it with that intent, but as we started working on it together, added some bits, and we realised, you know, it would really suit an MC, or, you know, someone rapping. And we had a list. We had a list of people, and right at the top was LP, which was like a pie in the sky, will never happen, but you know, who would? And then we go, you know, and then we continue with this list and think about who might, you know, realistically be up for it. And then I just, you know, thought, well, let's just see. We couldn't, our manager couldn't get a contact for him, and then I remembered that we have a mutual friend, and just fired off an email to that friend who sent the track over to him, and our stomachs dropped when we got the email back saying that he was in fact up for it.
Did you give him any any pointers on what you wanted?
No, he asked for Matt's lyrics, written out, um, and what Matt's theme was in his
Mm.
lyrics. That's all. That's all.
Yeah.
And we basically just said, do whatever you want. And like, you know, you can't give LP directions. It would be. Uh, he's got anything he was going to put on there would be 10 times what we would. So, yeah.
There's an Australian metalcore band called Alpha Wolf that I'm a huge fan of, and they randomly as hell got Ice-T to drop a verse on their latest thing, and you wouldn't believe it. Ice-T has really gone out of his comfort zone. In this track, he talked about how all of you are talking shit, and you should stop talking shit, or he'll fuck you up. And I was like, Ice, hold the phone, bro. What? The man has a theme and he's sticking to it. Guys, how long have you been working on the fantastically named Death Hilarious?
When did we go to Wales?
Yeah, it came together pretty quick, this one. So, oh God, everything just becomes a blur, doesn't it? What we were in Wales, like maybe springtime of last year, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It
then
was
we recorded it over the summer.
start of the summer, wasn't it? 'Cause it was quite warm. Bridge turned over the sunburn.
Yeah, and we
So yeah,
recorded
late
it
spring.
over summer, and then yeah, it was kind of done and dusted by like autumn
Mhm.
last year. So yeah, it was pretty quick.
What were the,
Especially the writing of it. It was that was rapid.
yeah, what were the biggest challenges in creating?
I mean, for me personally, I mean, I always struggle. Like, I don't class myself. I still, to a degree, I don't class myself as a vocalist. I'm a drummer. I got assigned the wrong job. Um, but Ewan's better than me, so I had to do vocals. So like, I've never really written. I mean, the band's been going for over 10 years now, so you'd think I might be used to it now, but I'm not. So every album that comes round, it's like, right, okay, I need to write some lyrics. And now we're kind of in this like space where the kind of scheduling and everything becomes a lot tighter in terms of like, when we've written the songs and, when we start to record. And there's only like a small window of opportunity really now for me to write lyrics,
Mhm.
which I think puts uh, a bit of pressure on me because I don't I don't sit down at home and write lyrics. Like I bounce off what the guys have written and the riffs that they've got and everything else, and I'll take demos home and sit and listen to them and try and put something around that, and I'll let the music influence me, which I think is quite important for me to do. So yeah, for me, it's like it's always this kind of right. Okay, well, you've got a blank canvas now. What are you going to write about? And I've also never really been one to kind of focus on particular topics. Like they're all quite uh sorry yeah, they're all like quite psychological, I suppose,
Mhm.
in a sense, and it takes a little bit of time for whatever it is I've got bubbling away under the surface to kind of pop up and spring onto the paper. So yeah, but with this album, I particularly struggled with it for one reason or another. I kind of, whether that was like just low confidence, low self-esteem. I had a bunch of things going on in my personal life, which I think were like very much like putting fog on the runway, so to
Mhm.
speak. So I found that quite hard to navigate, and I was hitting like these blocks of like quite like negative thought processes where it was like, okay, maybe you've like said everything you've needed to say. and you've got nothing more. Because
Mm,
like, I want the words to have like meaning, and I'm very aware that like people now more so than ever in the stage of like the band's history, like read the lyrics. Like we play like, when we came to Australia and we toured, there was like people in the audience that were like shouting the words back at me, and that absolutely blows my mind that people are
mm,
doing that, so it kind of, yeah, it makes me feel like, well, this has got value and merit, and this it's got to be worth something for it to then be recorded. um
mm,
so yeah, it took a little while for me to kind of try and break through that. Or like, I mean, the solution became like, okay, well, if you're in this like quite negative headspace and it's blocking you, like I'll challenge it by allowing it to express itself, and that's eventually what really kind of opened the floodgates, when I was like,
mhm,
well, okay, well, this is the headspace you're in, so just let it take over to a degree. But by doing that, it felt like I had control over it,
mm.
because I was then dictating the terms of the expression of it, rather
Yeah, yeah.
than dictating, what I could and couldn't do. So
Okay.
yeah.
You ever hit a roadblock next time, just go, hi, ChatGTP, write me a pigs figure.
Hey, we did that on tour once, in a coffee shop, and it was scarily accurate. Like,
No.
some of the little themes it was picking up, like, I don't know, or at least I suppose like some of the words that I use quite often. It was
Yeah.
like picking it up. It was quite embarrassing, really. It's like, yeah, yeah, you are working out the formulas.
Um, Keeping with the theme of the day that I'm having. So, if you're on tour and you feel yourself getting sick due to some grotty roadie or something, what's your first course of action? I thought you just eyebrow
Uh,
raise.
make sure everybody else knows
Yeah.
Yeah.
that we're feeling bad, complain, garner sympathy, and then just crack on with it. I think.
Yeah, we're all fairly, because we've been doing this for so long now, that like we're pretty well versed in, I think we're quite aware of each other's like headspaces sometimes. Like, you can just tell if someone's feeling like run down or feeling a particular way. Because it's quite an intense experience, like being in a van, like, well, there's seven of us usually, like all
Hmm.
together, and every day piling into the van at 7 or 8 in the morning, having gone to bed at like 1 a.m. or something. Um, so we all are quite aware. Headphones go on, and we just kind of try as much as possible to give each other a bit of space. But it's such an intense, like, and it does like, for some bands, like early on, it can break them, because they're like, they think that like, okay, yeah, it's going to be really cool, like going out on tour and doing like, and we'll do as much as possible. When they're actually doing it, it's like, oh, this is intense. So
Yeah.
yeah, giving each other space is important, I think.
Yeah. I like that. Adam, you got anything to throw in?
Yeah, that's. I think that's pretty pertinent. I think we also. I mean, speaking of myself, I've got cystic fibrosis, so um, yeah. So we're very good, and it's that. I think that giving each other space also extends to the sort of the understanding that everyone gives each other. Certainly, the guys give me, and that our touring is maybe not as heavy as it might otherwise be. That sort of enough days off to make sure that that it doesn't pile up, and because we've done that in the last few years where we've had particularly very intense periods of touring with very little time off, and I think for any of us it was too much. So you know, even now we're still learning how much we can do, and how sensible we need to be with it for our own well-being, but then also having to fit that in with budgeting and managing to make it work financially, which is increasingly difficult. It's a minefield that it extends to more than, you know, just the five of us and our manager and book agent are all really understanding about you know, making sure.
Yeah, nice. Awesome, lads. Thank you very much for your time today, guys. This has been rad. This has been much more pleasant than I thought it was going to be at the end of a really shitty day. So, yeah, guys, thank you very much for your time. I'm about to go get stratospherically high. Enjoy. And,
Nice one, mate.
be
Thank you
wonderful.
very much. Enjoy.
I've been wanting to say this the whole time, by the way, Matt. Your interior design skills are impeccable.
Thank you.
Yes, love that.
What's wrong with mine?
Well, I mean,
Got
yours
some
is nice
storage
too.
boxes, some, you know, some Warhammer sprues up there.
Yeah, his is more color coordinated. Sorry, Adam. All right, lads, be good to yourselves, and hopefully I'll see you in Australia soon.
Thank you.
All right,
Take
lads.
care, mate.
See you, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.